Guys, I've realized what's missing from my life, except 10 mil, good knees and abs, is a hobby. I don't have a hobby, and not to be dramatic, but it's ruining my life. Let me tell you why. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're good, hope you're well. Sorry for the dramatic intro, but we have a problem on our hands. Or I have a problem. Or we have a problem, if you're on the same boat as me. And I know some of you won't be on this boat, because some of you have your life sorted. Some of you run a marathon every weekend, and on Mondays you do violin. But tell me, how do you find the time? Tell me, since you got your degree and you know everything. I'm just kidding, but I did recently have a revelation. P.S. I'm realizing that most of my videos are just me having revelations, and I think it's as a result of like a quarter-life crisis / crisis that is adulting, and I end up just brain dumping on here, but you seem to be for it, so we move. But yeah, as I was saying, I've had a revelation, and the revelation is that I think that many of my frustrations in life come from the fact that I no longer have a hobby. I work, I socialize, I do YouTube, I occasionally rest, I very occasionally work out. That's not a hobby. I see family, I pray, I worship and all that, but where is the hobby? Let me read the definition of a hobby. A hobby is defined as an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. Example, her hobbies are reading and gardening. And yeah, none of the things I do fall under the hobby category. Even YouTube, as much as I love and adore this thing, it's not a hobby. It can't be classed as a hobby because I can't lie. Sometimes it stresses me out. There is a lot of pressure involved, and I monetize it, so it's not a hobby. So over to you. Do you have a hobby? A recreational, leisure time, non-monetized activity that you do outside of work? Pause this video and tell me, yes or no? If you answered no, then I bet you're a little bit more stressed out than the people who answered yes. I did my Googles, and here is why. But spoiler alert, all of my research backed up my theory that anything that isn't a hobby is basically work. And you know that on this channel, we don't like work. No, I'm joking. That sounds lazy. Work is not our favorite topic. We don't dream of labor, yada, yada, yada. But back to the research. Here's why we need to be doing up hobby and recreation. It's very simple. Simple psychology, simple science. When we do stuff we enjoy, it affects the reward system of the brain. Neurotransmitters such as dopamine are released. Dopamine makes us feel good. Feeling good motivates us to do that thing again. And hobbies are born. Simple, makes sense. Cool, so we know why hobbies are good, but why don't a lot of us have them? It often comes down to time, and whether you work like a traditional 9-to-5, or you're a shift worker, or you're a freelancer or contractor, for the most part, most of us officially work around 5 days a week, and we have a 2-day weekend, or we have 2 days off. This should leave us a decent, acceptable amount of time in which to have hobbies. But it doesn't, and to be honest, it wasn't really designed to. Once upon a time, work was activity-based, i.e. you must milk 8 cows today. Now, work is mostly time-based, i.e. you must work 8 hours today. And once upon a time, the weekend wasn't even a given. It was something that people fought for, they protested for, and even died for. And then there were some famous employers like Henry Ford who gave their employers more time off with no difference in their pay. And you think, oh, that was great, but really it was so that they had time and money to buy his cars. So our leisure and our relaxation has never really been the motivation for the workforce and the way we work and time off and the weekend, etc. And on top of that, surprise, surprise, studies show that most of us work more than the official hours. And most of us spend our weekends either, like I said, working or doing chores or shopping. Shopping can be relaxing, but no, it's not. We went for a shelf, and the shelf was out of stock. So yeah. And then Sunday rolls around, and guess what? We don't feel rested. Like, how many of you can relate? The Sunday scaries, the Sunday blues. Even if you do nothing all weekend, you get to Sunday and you're like, oh, I wish I had an extra day. I don't feel rested. I feel like I haven't done anything, or I've done too much, or I'm just as tired, or I'm just not rested. The weekends never feel like enough, and they just never feel like they're rejuvenating us. So what do we do? To be honest, I'm still figuring it out fully, but one thing I'm trying to implement now in my weekends, in my spare time, is active recreation. There are 2 types of recreation, 2 types of rest: passive and active. Passive looks like tuning out emotionally and physically. It's mindlessly scrolling through TikTok. It's crashing on the couch and binging Netflix. It's just zoning out. And although passive rest itself is not terrible, it doesn't often leave us rejuvenated. When you've been operating on a high all week, like a physical, mental, emotional high, like you're working, you're concentrating, you're focusing, you're doing tasks, and then now to come and basically crash and almost switch off your body, your mind, your emotions, it leaves you feeling unrested. Like, have you ever had a weekend or a day where you've literally spent the whole day in bed, like binging Netflix or something, and then you get to the end of the day and you don't feel not one bit rested? And then on the flip side, you have active recreation. That means doing something that essentially nurtures a part of you that wasn't nurtured whilst you were working. Imagine like whatever job you do, but let's say like you are looking at spreadsheets all day, you're looking at numbers, you're crunching numbers, and then now at the weekend you do something active, you go bike riding, or you read a book, or you paint, and it's nurturing a part of your brain, a part of you that all week has almost been like turned off. That kind of recreation has been known to leave us feeling refreshed, and I've found that. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so busy this weekend and I hate it. I just want to be like a couch potato lying horizontally, but then end up having like a social activity, or have to go for a walk, or something like physically active. I actually end up feeling, one, like my weekend was longer, and two, like I'm rested and ready for a week ahead. Weirdly, I don't get it, but it works. So in trying to actively have active rest, active recreation, I'm hoping that a hobby will come about. I'm also, guys, trying to do stuff that I won't be tempted to monetize. I'm such a capitalist. No, I'm joking. No, I'm not. I am. But I have this horrible habit of trying to monetize everything that I do. Like, oh, I love painting, and I start painting. I'm like, oh, if I get really good, maybe I can like sell these prints. Or I decided once upon a time to start making jewelry, and I was like, if I get really good, it's like Adella. Relax. Stop trying to monetize everything. Like, I talked about this in my recent video, actually, my last video, about not having a passion. And like, so often we try to think that everything, our passion, our hobbies, needs to be monetized, but it's not by force. And by default, if you then monetize your hobby, not saying you can't, but I reckon talk to somebody who has started monetizing their hobby and they might not see it as a hobby anymore. And I was listening to a podcast, and I can't remember who it was, my bad, but I was listening to a podcast and someone gave really good advice, and he said that a good way to not be tempted to monetize your hobby is to find a hobby that you're not very good at, which I found really interesting, because it is very possible to enjoy something that you're not good at. For example, if you like music and you thought, oh, you know what, maybe I'll start like learning how to play the guitar. I can't monetize that because I am crap. I suck. But it can still be a hobby. So I'm exploring lists in my head of things that like, I ain't about to go competitive cycling, but maybe cycling can be my hobby. That's not gonna be my hobby. Actually, no. All in all, people, we need to prioritize the pursuit of a hobby as much as we prioritize other things. I was listening to another podcast, and the woman said something that really stuck with me. She said, we need to be as vigilant with our leisure as we are with our work. And that really stuck with me, because I reckon most of you can agree with me, like work-wise, things that like you're contracted to do, or you're obligated to do, or make you money, or help facilitate your lifestyle, or help pay the bills. We're so vigilant with work. But then when it comes to things like hobbies and leisure, which are both, in my opinion, equally as important in us being whole and healthy and all-rounded, we're just not as vigilant. It's like, it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. I'm sure you can all relate. So that really stuck with me. We need to be as vigilant with our leisure as we are with our work. And so that is what I'm trying to do. So that was a bit of a brain dump. Do check out my most recent video on passions. I feel like that links really nicely with this video. And guys, I know I say this all the time, yeah, and I know I tell you to comment all the time, but for real this time, please comment down below specifically. Actually, comment what you want, but on top of that, please comment ideas of hobbies, or if you have a hobby, if you're that person that's got your life all together, I'm such a hater, please comment down below what your hobby is, because I'm open. I'm taking new hobbies, give them to me. Let me know, because I want to discover something. I want to steal one of your hobbies and I want to make it my hobby. So help a sister out. Hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Let me know what you think as always, and I will see you in my next video. Peace. Bye.